what a pile.
Yeah, and that's the other photo.
And now I can't believe it looks like this.
Yep.
Look at this beauty. I just can't even right now. What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. Every single episode I say, hey, today we have a special car. Legitimately today we have a really special car. I don't even know where to start. This is, it's just a very beautiful Toyota Corolla. And we have the Corolla guy here, my buddy Mike Muniz from Team Wildcards, which I'm so lucky that I'm actually a part of. As of recently, I guess, right? Just not too long ago. But you're like one of the original members?
Yeah, not as old school as the other guys, but yeah, I've been with them for a while.
Well, thanks for having us at your garage. You actually build Toyota Corollas. You're known as the Toyota Corolla guy. And this one is pretty much your prized possession. This is the one that you went all out on, and this is the best, potentially the best and probably the most expensive Toyota Corolla in the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty spot on. I've always built a lot of like race cars and resto mods, and I never thought that restoring a car would be that hard, and this one was so tough. I needed a lot of help. I needed a lot of guidance, and luckily enough, I was able to make friends at the Toyota Museum in Japan, and they kind of guided me and helped me, including sourcing parts for it.
Okay, so you mentioned the Toyota Museum. You're telling me Toyota doesn't have a car like this in their possession?
So this is the early 72 version. They have a late 72 version. They didn't see the need to make another one because of budget constraints.
Okay, so this is right-hand drive. So this was originally from Japan?
Correct. This was originally from Japan. This was in terrible shape. There were holes that you could see through the car. Everything has been grafted and fixed, but everything has been done correctly. Nothing hidden under Bondo or any body filler.
So could you have started with potentially a cleaner car to do this kind of restoration?
I could have, except this trim package that you see here. This was very limited. Toyota only made this trim package. This is an early 1972, March 14th, 1972 to July 31st of 1972. So just less than 5 months that this trim package was made. After that, rumors were the higher ups of Toyota did not like the way the front looks because it looks like a catfish.
I like that look.
Yeah, so they changed the whole look. So the later 72 models had a more sporty look. So I wanted to make sure that the VIN number matches the trim package, and it's even more rare because it was only made for 5 months.
So do you know how many of these models were produced?
That I don't know, but I know that there's only 5 still registered in Japan, and there are none exported anywhere else in the world. This was a Japanese model only. So only 5 are still registered in Japan, and only 3 are still being driven.
Okay, so we had a little chat before we actually started shooting. I've never encountered this. This is how crazy this car is. So you can't actually even push this car. So there are very expensive cars and rare cars that I've had a chance to shoot. I've shot $5 million, $10 million cars, but those cars we could still push, and I can even help push them This car can't be pushed because of a very special reason, and it tells the story right here. Oh my God. So what are we looking at here?
So the tires that are on this car are from 1972. They're new old stock tires. They have only seen the light of day when I first introduced this at Toyota Fest. They were vacuum sealed by someone at the Toyota Museum in Japan for reasons unknown. They don't know why it was vacuum sealed, but it was protected from the light and it was protected from air. When I started restoration, I wasn't really going to go as far as finding new old stock tires because I know that a lot of restored vehicles do not have new old stock tires. They try to get the tires that are as close as possible to the original, but never like the actual tire that came with the car. And then somebody reached out to me and says, hey, we found these tires. Are you willing to purchase it? And I said, let me see the date code. So I looked at the date code, researched it. It was from 1972. And it is the original tires that would have come with this vehicle when it was released in 1972.
I mean, even to the point where this potentially could not have been on another car, you're saying?
Yes, it was never installed. I looked at the bead itself. There was no marks that it was never installed. So these were vacuum sealed by somebody for some odd reason, and it was forgotten. So there are other parts in the car that's new old stock that people never thought existed. And when I started this project, and people that were following me just kind of like said, hey, I know somebody that has this, I know somebody that can get this. Things just started like coming my way and helped me get this project finished in a very short period of time.
I just don't even know what to say. I've been shooting cars for 15, almost 16 years now. I've never seen anything like this before. Like, I just can't believe that it's almost a 50-year-old brand new tire.
Yep.
And the sticker is still on here. So is this the only tire that has a sticker on it still?
Yes, all the other tires have the blue and yellow stripe, but only this one has a sticker on it.
So this is the one that you kind of proudly display.
Yes, and once this thing is stuck in the garage, I actually deflate that tire and I put it in a vacuum pack and I hide it from any light. It's hidden away until it needs to come out again and
just this one tire?
No, all of them. Yes, because none of the tires have any cracks. They're like brand new tires. If you had a time machine and you went back to 1972, it's that kind of quality.
Mike, I just don't even know what to say. So when you actually brought this out, you're telling me you jacked it up and put it on and then dropped it?
No, so I have a set of RS Watanabes that I put on as a roller, and then I take those off and then I put these on.
I can't believe it. Like, Watanabes are like people's dream wheels, right?
Yeah.
Like, people save up sometimes all their life or years.
And this was customized
just to be able to afford a set of.
And this was customized by Watanabe through JDM Legends for this car. It's actually the color that was used on it is the same color as the Trueno badge.
Oh, okay. So have you actually driven this car since you restored it?
Yes, I have driven this car. I've put 150 miles on the engine because I did rebuild this. All the seals are new. Everything in the engine is pretty much new. So it's a 0-mile engine.
How does it feel to drive? Because it really is a time machine at that point.
It feels like a brand new old car, I guess. It really feels good. Everything's good. What a lot of people neglect when they're doing restorations are bushings and things that you can't see. To me, you're only cheating yourself. Even the bushings, the strut tower is very hard to find. That strut tower bushing, if you look at every TE27, they're bubbled up, they're domed up because they're blown out. This one still has a dip to it. It's brand new. It's a brand new old stock strut tower mount. So all that is new, so it feels like a brand new car.
Okay, so you're not the only one. I mean, I think this is amazing. I think this is very special, but you're obviously not the only one that thinks this is so special because it's actually won quite a bit of awards at Concourse.
Yes, so it has won first place at the Concours d'Elegance in Palos Verdes, and also at the La Jolla Concours d'Elegance, it won first place. And then at the LA Auto Show just recently, it won first in its class also. And its debut at Toyota Fest in 2017, it swept the show. It won Best Restored Toyota, Best of Show, and Judge's Choice.
So, and there's a reason why you didn't take it to JCCS yet, right?
After Toyota Fest, I had a arrangement with the museum in Japan that because of them helping me, they want to display it at the museum. So after Toyota Fest, it went to Japan for a whole year. It was displayed in the museum. And while in the museum, there was a sheikh from Dubai, a car collector that saw it, got my contact information, asked if he would be able to purchase it. And I said, no, it's not for sale, because my wife and we have actually willed this car to go to the Toyota Museum in Japan once I'm no longer here, once I'm gone. So the scenario he gave me was, can I lease it? So that's what's been happening. So he leased this vehicle. It went to a private collection in Dubai for a year. It came back momentarily for 6 months, and then it went back to Dubai again. So now it's back again. It just came back last week. So it's been in Dubai several times.
Mike, I actually got chills from you just telling me that. Like, it's so crazy to me, because one of the reasons why I push so hard, and one of the reasons why I love this job so much, is because when I'm long gone, hopefully my pictures can live on, you know? And I feel like it's the same feeling, I guess, with this car.
Yes.
You're building something not so much, yeah, you're enjoying it, you're preserving history, yeah, you're doing all of this stuff, but even to the point where you've built it and you want it to last pretty much forever.
Yeah, my wife and I, we do not have any kids, so this will be our lasting legacy. This will be displayed hopefully forever at the Toyota Museum in Japan, and hopefully to keep it up the way I keep it up. I'm sure they will.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we haven't even talked about the car yet. We're just talking about the story. Let's just pop the hood if we can just kind of take a look at the engine. I just can't believe this is the kind of crazy thing. This is the story that I always love. Wow, so clean. This was an ordinary pedestrian car.
Yeah, it's a throwaway car.
Like back in 1972, if somebody went to the dealership, a Toyota dealership, to buy this car, they think, okay, hey, I might drive it for 5 years, 10 years, you know, and then I'll scrap it.
Yep.
Nobody in their right mind would have thought to preserve it like this. So one other car that I've had a chance to feature was this 48 kilometer Toyota A86.
Okay, yes.
And that's in Belgium.
Yeah.
And the story with that one is the guy built, I think, like 11 or 12 rally cars for Toyota. And then the last one, instead of turning it into a rally car, he just preserved it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's the same story. It's a pedestrian car. Yeah. It's an A86. Nobody would look at it twice for how many years? But now it's become extraordinary.
Yep.
You know, and this I feel like is the same way. So like, tell us about the quirky things that you had to do to get it to this.
Okay, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but every nut and bolt is yellow zinc coated. And there are some bolts that are duller in color, and like the linkages, those are cadmium coated. I had to do my research to see which bolts were zinced and which bolts were cadmium. And the way you do that is actually a really good trick. So if the zinc is already worn out and it's down to the metal, which is like silver, you work this out and you look at the threads that are hidden underneath, and it still has the old coating. So now you're able to know if it's zinc or cadmium. So every nut and bolt was zinc and cadmium coated the way it was back in the 70s. And the reason for that is when Toyota wanted to ship their cars worldwide, they needed something to be sacrificed during shipment. During shipment, the salt water actually eats up metal. And by putting the zinc or the cadmium coating, that is the sacrificial piece that the elements eat up, so that when it arrives to its destination, it's not all trashed. So a lot of the cars that are here, when you get it here, or when you decide to start restoring cars, you don't see that anymore. But in reality, it should have that coating. 1970s and older had that coating.
That's like the nerd level is just to the max, to the extreme. Like, okay, so, and then tell me about the battery.
All right, so the battery, these are called pencil tops because they have very tiny posts. This was the last thing that I needed for this car, but I could not find any company that would ship it to me because it's hazardous. So when the car went to Japan at the museum, that was a perfect opportunity. They just put the correct battery. It's made by Yuasa, and it's actually a new old stock, and that's why I keep on unplugging it because I'm trying to preserve it. This is a 1972 battery.
As if the tires weren't crazy enough,
Yes.
you had to get the original battery.
Yeah, so I have to keep on checking the fluids and then trickle charging it and actually trying to baby it so that it'll last for a long time. So yeah, the battery came with the car when it came back. So now everything's complete. It has everything that it's supposed to have when it was brand new. And when this was brand new, this was a $1,900 car, $1,900.
Now it's priceless.
And now in Japan, if you look at the T27s that are coming out of there, they're around 30,000 for something that you still need to do a lot of work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, forgive me. I'm kind of a Toyota dummy. I'm actually now a real Toyota dummy standing next to you. So tell me about the motor.
So this is a 1.6 liter 2TG motor. Back in the day, Toyota was more into production. They really didn't want to have any assets put aside for any racing. So Yamaha built this head for them. This is a Yamaha, the motorcycle company. They built this head for them. It came with the twin Solex 40 millimeter side draft carburetors. So it's performance. It has more performance. The way I was told was there were only 50,000 cylinder heads made. And this engine was actually in 1971 T27 all the way to 1983 Toyota Corolla TE37, I think. So only Japanese model, never came out in the US.
So, this original motor, original block, original
Yeah,
everything.
this is all number matching. These are
Okay,
all,
all
number
number
matching.
matching.
Yeah, transmission, everything matches. This is the original. And that's why I painstakingly rebuilt this engine. I didn't want to put some other engine in it. I didn't want to modify it. This is exactly to the same tolerances as it was brand new, the same block and the same head. And even the carburetors, I don't know if you could see, they still have Toyota part numbers on them.
Wow. Yeah, that is incredible. So, okay, I just skipped one big thing also. the fact that somebody in Dubai, a very wealthy individual, a very big avid car collector, leased it not to drive because no one's allowed to drive it, including you, just to display it.
Yes.
It's really cool. I mean, I know the guys there are super crazy about cars, even to the point where I've been to that museum in the UAE where they have like the shrine to the Dodge Power Wagon.
The pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid.
Yes.
So because the Power Wagon helped the country so much.
Yeah.
Because transportation, in the desert is key, and they loved it so much they decided to build a shrine.
Yep.
Basically a 10 times scale one, which I had a chance to photograph and I had a chance to hang out inside. It's actually an apartment, but it's just so crazy. They take car loving to a different scale that I can only dream of, and I love the fact that they appreciate what you've done with this car.
Yep. So the way it was explained to me was a lot of the major car collectors already own the significant European cars and American cars, and now Japanese cars are coming up, but they just don't know where the price point is because there's too much of a swing. So first of all, they did offer to buy this, and I said no. And so the next best thing was for leasing it, and I went for it. It was extra cash every month, and also gives me extra room in my garage so I can work on something else while the car's gone. And I was kind of scared because I didn't know how they're gonna treat the car. But when I saw that it was inside a container and it was strapped down, it was climate controlled, and then I was able to actually track my vehicle on my app, going all the way to the UAE and then coming back. So I felt pretty good. And so when it came back and it was in good condition, no additional scratches. So the next time the other person wanted it, I had no reservations. I told him, okay, go ahead and lease it again.
All right, now for lease, just to look at, nothing else. Amazing. Okay, so let's finish up in the engine bay. I know even like this is a delivery. What is this? Like
Yes,
a delivery
so
sticker?
This is something that I found out later on when I thought I was finished with the car. Somebody from Toyota that used to work for the Toyota factory in Japan said, you're missing the wax tape. So I asked him, I said, what is the wax tape about? He says, that's how we were able to feed the wiring harness through the rubber grommet without having the rubber grommet pop out. So I asked him, what's this wax tape? So he researched and then he found a company that still makes this wax tape. So I asked him, how is it wrapped? He goes, just wrap a few and then let it hang, because we didn't care. It wasn't supposed to be there for looks. It was just there for us to be able to push the harness in. So that's what that is. So even that is the correct way it's supposed to look like when this car came out of the factory.
The attention to detail. So what about like the stickers and stuff?
So the sticker right here is the dealership sticker where this car came from.
Oh.
So I had it remade, reprinted, and that's where they usually put it. So it's either there or the rear bumper. So this is in the engine bay.
So what about the rest of the stickers? Did you?
These are all. So this is a new old stock radiator, so that's why that has a sticker. But the emission stickers, that one was actually reprinted, including that one. That was reprinted to the exact same font, style, even the metallic look to it. That way everything's correct and it's in the right position. I studied several photographs to see where that emission sticker is on the strut tower so that I can get it in the right spot.
But reprinted by you or reprinted by Toyota?
No, reprinted in Toyota, yeah.
Of course it was reprinted by Toyota. Okay, and one more thing about the engine bay. We kind of had a chat about this earlier. This is kind of potentially a common thing with a lot of cars, the fact that the inside of the engine bay is a different color from the outside, even though it's technically the same paint.
Correct.
But what happened here? So you even recreated this.
So I found out by accident. I was looking at all the restorations, mostly Skylines, the Hakoskas. I was trying to see why is it that the fully restored Skylines in Japan have a different shade of silver in the engine bay than the rest of the vehicle. And talking to someone that also worked at the factory as a painter was saying that they never match. What happens is the factory is pretty big. So the beginning part of the factory, they paint the engine bay and the undercarriage, and then they assemble the vehicle as it goes through the chain. And then when it gets to the very end, that's when they hang the fenders, the door, everything else, and then that's painted. But because the air pressure and the humidity is different from the first part of the factory to the end part of the factory, it creates a different hue of color. It's the same color mix, same color, same paint, but it's just those little subtle differences in humidity and temperature and how it was sprayed makes a difference in the color. So we wanted to recreate that. We wanted to make sure that that's exactly how this car looked like. We didn't have the big factory to do this, so we just changed the glossiness of the paint so that it would be different on the engine bay compared to the outside to replicate what it's supposed to look like.
And so you've gone to that level with every part of the car, even to the point where before we started shooting, I was walking around and I was like kind of looking and I was just kind of admiring how perfect it is until I came across here. I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna tell Mike about these scratches. He probably knows about these scratches, but he probably wouldn't want to talk about it. But this is actually one of those attention to detail things that you actually...
Yeah. So in 1972 to early 1973, they had a stamping issue with the left fender. And when they would stamp the fender, it would give it a little wrinkle. So obviously, when I got this car, it didn't have that wrinkle, but I wanted to make sure that it looked exactly like most of them, the majority of them were. So we actually created that in the metal by doing little grind marks and look at the picture that we found that had the wrinkles so that it would be the same. So we actually created that to make it look exactly the way it would roll out of the factory back in early 1972.
This whole time I was thinking like, oh man, I know this is a crazy car, but I shouldn't tell Mike about this. But it turned out something that you actually did. Like,
Yes.
That's what I love about it. All right, so we haven't even got, there's this, all right, let's go around the rest of the car. So obviously all of new old stock badges.
Yes. And what makes this also even more special, so like I mentioned, they made this for 5 months. I don't know how many vehicles they made in those 5 months with this trim package. And I know that there's only 5 of this still registered in Japan. But what makes this probably even more special is that in the 5 months they made this, they made a J model. The J model stands for junior. A lot of people on the internet have argued about this, saying that junior means it had a different engine, smaller motor, but it actually wasn't correct. J means it was a light model. That means no radio, no air conditioning, different struts, different stands. It was actually a lighter model. It's almost kind of like the European alloy cars. They made
RS.
Yeah, very
version.
light, right?
Yeah.
So that was the reason why this one has a J badge.
Oh.
Because this is the J model, which is very, 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 very rare. This was their sports car model, which is super light, no radio, no antennas, no air conditioning. No frills.
It's also that way it's smooth, you know, no more holes or no radio holes or anything. Wow, amazing. So, is there anything that stands out in the rear of the car that we should know about?
Well, these taillights were so hard to find. I ended up owning 3 sets of these taillights to find one that was decent, and then out of the blue, one of the guys that follow me on Instagram from the Philippines said, "Hey, I have this in a box, brand new, new old stock."
No way.
Yeah. So I ended up getting it from him.
That's kind of the crazy thing is like, who knows? Could you have done this just a couple of years before when social media wasn't such a big thing?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of people that helped me out. Surprisingly enough, I didn't even know that there was such a group. I didn't know there were groups of people that don't own cars, that just collect parts.
Huh.
Like they have wheels that they'll never put on a car. And those are the same people that I reached out to saying, I have the car, please sell it to me.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. Why would you collect these parts and you don't even have the car? But I guess it's cool that they exist because they're finding all these parts for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of half the fun, right? One of our mutual friends, JT, who we're so lucky we get to feature a lot of his cars. For him, half the fun is finding these parts. And I mean, it's so crazy to me that you've created this thing. It's awesome. It's really, really, really cool. So let's check out the interior. Oh, wow. All right. It smells like it smells like a brand new car.
Yep, it's pretty much a brand new car. This is the original seat that came with the car, except for the seat bottom is new old stock. I have another set. Actually, that's another one. I have 3 pieces of the bottoms, and I was fortunate enough that somebody found it in Japan again, new old stock, never been used. So I replaced it. I know that when you feature a lot of the older Corollas, the T27s, they all have this seat. This is the original pattern that the guy from New Zealand copied from mine. I actually gave him measurements.
Okay.
I gave him measurements, so he made it. His name is Grant. So he made it from my pattern, and now JT has it in his car. A bunch of people have them in their cars, and I have it in my orange Corolla also. So this is the original pattern, measurement-wise, that I gave to Grant.
This is interesting because this is not one of those things where, you know, how us Asians, man, when we get like a new TV, the TV remote looks like this for the life of the TV, right?
Yep.
But there's a reason why this is wrapped in plastic. You didn't actually do this.
No, so this is new old stock from Japan. If you look at the chrome, it's perfect. This is one of the first things that happen in older Japanese cars. The chrome start peeling, and they're made out of plastic. You know, it's hard to find somebody that would actually re-chrome plastic, especially when it's attached to a fabric. So this is new old stock, and it even says right there in Japanese kanji, it says Toyota spare. So somebody back in the day put this away, and I have it now. It's in my car. Yeah. So these are new old stock, and then the panels I had that were decent actually went to a friend of mine in Hawaii. So now it's in his car. So me finding things also help other people out.
Yeah, no, that's great. It really is such a good community. And is this the original brochure?
That's the original brochure. If you look inside, this is the person that had this in Japan did not want to let go of this brochure, but he didn't have the car. And again, I convinced him since I had the car.
It's the exact car.
Yeah, the exact car. It even has the exact tires. If you look at the tires.
Yeah. This is the shot that you could basically recreate with this car, with the tire turned like that.
Yep.
Incredible. No stone unturned with this build, really. It's really, so 115 PS. Wow, what a great looking brochure. It is in almost perfect condition too.
It was displayed in the museum cabinet, glass cabinet, with the washer bottle that's in this car now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to touch it, but I'm just so curious to see it. Like,
if you reach in there, there's 2 pictures of what this car looked like when I imported it.
oh, wow. What a pile.
Yeah, and that's the other photo.
And now, I can't believe it looks like this.
Yep.
This truly is incredible, and this is why you are the Corolla guy. It's just so much to take in, you know, and I'm so appreciative. I'm so glad there's car guys like you that preserve this. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. This was an every man's car.
Yep.
You know, anyone could go out and buy this. If you were just a regular Japanese guy,
Yep.
you could afford this and drive this in Japan, but you've, you know, restored it and made it amazing. So, like, let me just check out the back here.
Yeah, the other detail that this car has that a lot of restorers miss is that they install 2 of these, the visors. So in early '72, since this is a light car, so this is the J model. This is supposed to be made for racing, so they only had 1. Never had one for that side.
And then the mirror, they had 2 mirrors though.
Yeah, they had 2 fender mirrors.
I love it. And does the clock work? Of course
Yes.
it does. Amazing.
Yeah, the battery's disconnected right now.
Yeah. Wow. So, like, the headliner is
New old stock. It came in a Toyota bag when I got it. Installed it myself. Even the cross bracing came with the headliner in the bag because they do start sagging.
Hey, which, by the way, thank you so much for pulling this out of your garage for me. Like, just being able to see this. I wish there was smell-o-vision on YouTube already, because just to smell what it's like to be here, the smell of a basically brand new 1972 Toyota Sprinter Terreno. So cool.
So I know you mentioned it in one of your posts. So the difference between a Sprinter Terreno and a Corolla Levin is that you could not take this and have maintenance performed on this car where you would take a Levin Corolla, and vice versa. There were actually 2 separate service centers. The Terreno Sprinter was considered the upper version of this chassis, the T27, and then the Corolla Levin was the more pedestrian, the lower model. I think the difference in price was $400 when you bought them brand new.
Right, but
this
being $1,900 and that being $1,400.
Yeah, it made a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah, so there were 2 different service centers that serviced these vehicles, even though they're the same chassis number and everything is shared.
Yeah. Mike, thank you again so much for showing us this really, really just such a unique restoration. These are the stories that I love telling. And here's the crazy thing. With this kind of attention to detail, it's like you wonder what's the next level, you know, what could you possibly do next that could top this? But you actually already have a project in the works that potentially we could feasure in the future.
So this was tough, and when I was building this, I was thinking never again I would do a full restoration. It just takes too much time, and once you get started, it has to be done right. But surprise, surprise, I have a 2000 GT, a Toyota 2000 GT 1967 MF10 that I will be restoring. It's actually going through body work right now, and yeah, that will be a Concourse level restoration, the same quality as this, but in a different level because that has more notoriety. More people know about that car. Yeah, so stay tuned.
Okay, so that's the crazy thing. Of course you would restore a 2000 GT, but I love that this is pretty much the most ordinary Toyota that you could restore.
Yeah.
50 years old, almost 50 years old. And then you go from this to the most expensive Japanese car in the world, period. Yeah. Of course you would.
Yeah, it wasn't by choice. I was just dreaming about it, but I'm not alone in this venture. I have two gentlemen from Dubai that pushed me to purchase this vehicle. They didn't want to purchase it unless I'm okay to restore it. So we went ahead and purchased this vehicle, and we're gonna do restoration on it.
I really can't wait. I love that car so much. And you know, that's kind of the cool thing is you'll do that car justice. And once I see it, I've seen a couple, you know, I've seen some at the Toyota Museum,
yeah.
But for me to be able to actually see what it was like brand new in 1968, right?
67.
67.
Yeah, yeah.
For me to see what it was like brand new in 1967.
Yeah.
And for me to even, you know, have that smell and just the look of it. I'm not going to touch it. I just want to look at it. It's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you again for having us.
No problem.
I think that's a wrap. We just finished filming his 1972 Sprinter Terreno, and we're actually going to go out and shoot his Levin out in the canyons. But you know, after the fact, we're car guys, we keep talking about this thing. And I actually had a question for him. I was wondering how often he actually runs the engine, how often he starts it. The thing is, he usually leaves it in the garage on jack stands. So he will actually start it once a week, let it warm up, and he'll actually row through the gears all the way. I don't know if it's a 5-speed, I think it's a 4-speed, but he rows, y'all, it's a 5-speed. So he rows through all the gears, kind of make sure everything is lubed up, and he even runs race gas in this, so there's no ethanol content, just to preserve it. That's so cool. I absolutely love that. You know, even though it's not being driven, really, he's still driving it. But he actually just told me that he's going to take it to a meet at the Peterson Museum, and he's going to put the Watanabes on it. So he won't drive it with these original tires, but he'll drive it with the new wheels and new tires, and I'll actually be able to get rolling shots of it driving. And maybe can I get a ride in it one day?
This one right here?
Yeah.
You get to drive it.
Whoa! Oh my God. That just blew my mind. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. I think that's a wrap.